So, with a trip to the local shopping centre this last week, I was pleasantly surprised to find some Batman memorabilia had been set up. A few figurines, some of the old comics in the background there, and of course the Batmobile was there as well. This I'm pretty sure was the Michael Keaton era Batmobile. If you haven't seen the film, go check it out because the new one is brilliant. So here she is, the new World War Fay painting. This is the Morrigan Tides of War, which is my latest Fay painting for World War Fay. She's one of the major players, and I'm really happy to have this painting now completed. So yeah, if you're interested, here's the original drawing, and she is available as a print if you want to get her on my website. The links are in the description. So yeah, but right now it's actually time for me to be going to Glastonbury, well, tomorrow morning, and in the hopes of selling the original along with a bunch of other stuff. But I need to get her varnished before I go, so it's a last minute deal because then I got to put her in the frame. So this is Winsor Newton gloss varnish that I tend to use. Got me a nice big soft clean brush. It's always important for the varnish to have a clean brush. Just pour a nice generous amount of varnish on, and then just start brushing that across the surface. You really want that generous amount because you don't want it, you don't want to be trying to brush it out. You don't want your varnish layer going thin. And I will ordinarily do 2 to 3 coats of varnish to make sure that I've got a nice glossy finish. Acrylic paint tends to dry with a chalky finish, so the gloss varnish reinvigorates the colours. Very important thing is to make sure you put, if you are varnishing, you put your painting somewhere where it is not going to suffer things dropping onto it, dust, hair, something I have to watch these days. And that's it. Just really evening out the coat. I'm not putting any pressure on the brush now, I'm just letting the weight of the brush do its work, and just keep going in opposite directions or alternate directions to keep that varnish nice and even, so that when it's on the wall it doesn't catch the light in odd ways. And there we go. That, I think, is that. Tip my head, check the reflections of the light to see if I can see any dull patches. I cannot. And it's a water-based medium, so I can just wash my my brush out, and that's it. That's the varnishing done. I'll pop it in the frame tomorrow morning before I head out, and that'll be done. I've come to realise that the setup at any event is pretty high pressured, but here she goes, Morrigan, going up onto the display so she's ready, and I was really pleased with how she looked there as well. Excellent. And here we are, a closer view of the whole setup, and of course me dressed very sensibly. So, I would like to tell you a little bit of a story, and it's a story about the circular nature of fate and how it can, well, frankly, throw us a curveball occasionally. As a young boy, I was inspired to draw fantasy art from fairy tales that we were reading at school. In my later years, I would copy the covers of fantasy and science fiction novels that I was able to find, some of them on my dad's bookshelf. And then when I was about 10 or 11 years old, my mum and dad joined a book club, one of those old booklets that used to come through the post and you could skim through and pick the books at good prices. And so I was able to buy my first ever fantasy art books, which pushed my inspiration to new levels as a 11, 12, 13-year-old boy. And those books still sit here along with the rest of my art book collection, which is a lifetime's worth of collecting over the decades that I've been purchasing. But amongst those first early books and those first early artists that I strived to emulate at the time, there were a handful that have stayed truly close to me in my heart throughout all of the years of my journey as a fantasy artist. And I count amongst those Boris Vallejo, Rodney Matthews, Roger Dean and Chris Achilleos. And it's Chris Achilleos who I would like to talk about right now. Chris gave me my very first portfolio review at a Comic-Con 20 odd years ago. I was still a little rough around the edges then. I still held what he said to me, and it really helped me push on, become better. And in the years since, I've had many portfolio reviews. I count amongst those Boris Vallejo as well. Alas, I've yet to meet Rodney Matthews. I have met Roger Dean. He was a very busy man. I didn't want to impose on his time with my portfolio. But last year at Fantasy Forest, which I showed on my Monday Montage back then, I was exhibiting my work. It was my first event as an artist in a public festival such as that, and Chris Achilleos was there as well. Alas, I did not have the time to actually go and say hi and catch up after a couple of decades since I'd last been able to chat with him. Chris Achilleos was famous for his Doctor Who covers. He actually did a lot of work for Men Only. He also created the character for the iconic and classic 80s animated movie Heavy Metal, as was part of the Heavy Metal magazine. And that character was Tana. And those of you that know my World War Fae epic fairy tale that I'm creating will also know that one of my main characters of the fairy is also named Tana. And that was a direct influence, and for me, homage to an extremely influential piece of artwork that Chris created. This kick-ass hero in the film is something I wanted to encapsulate in my World War Fae. So even after many decades, Chris's influence was still very strong in my own work. Sadly, Chris passed away in December, which was very sad news to myself and to many people in the fantasy art community. I want to roll back a few years from that sad bit of news. I've painted all of my life. I've drawn all of my life, and I've sold for a good many years occasionally. But about 6 or 7 years ago, I realised that I needed to return to my origins of what I used to paint when I was younger. And I wanted to put into the world the vision that's my art, my artwork. So I created a painting, which is this painting on the screen right now, which is called Over the Rainbow. It's a painting that was very personal, and it was about my journey as an artist, striving to chase the dream and live the dream. It's a very difficult dream to pursue. It's very turbulent, which is a very present bit of symbolism in this particular painting. It's very heavily influenced by another of my great inspirations, which is The Wizard of Oz, which at its heart is a story of overcoming challenges to pursue your dreams. And that's very important to me, the pursuit of dreams. I want to be over the rainbow. I want to fly with the bluebirds in the sky. And so this painting was created, and it has hung on my wall. You've seen it in the background of a number of Monday montages. And it's always been a very, very close painting, one that was never really for sale. However, over the couple of events that I have done, I have sold all of my large original paintings, which is a great position to be in, but it has left me with no large paintings for any future events. One such event was the Glastonbury Fairy Market a couple of weekends ago, for which I had no large paintings. To me, it's quite important to have a large showstopper painting as part of my setup. So I took a very long look at my Over the Rainbow painting, and I decided that I would showcase it. I might not sell it, I might not be in that position, but I would show it. It had been a number of years since I painted it, and I felt that I was much further along my journey now than when I first painted Over the Rainbow. So I felt comfortable putting it into the public space. An incredible turn of fate took place at Glastonbury Fairy Market. The Over the Rainbow painting sold into the family home of Chris Achilleos. I cannot put into words how moved I am by that fact. I was given the very, very great honour of being able to visit the home, see Chris's original works, have a look at his studio, and spend time with some of the family. They went on to really blow me away when they gifted to me this original drawing of Chris's, which is just astonishing. What they didn't know was this book was exceptionally instrumental in me becoming a fantasy artist. And this is the drawing for the figure on the cover of Heroic Dreams. A very classic, very well loved and cherished book by many in the fantasy art industry. I can't tell you how much it means to me to know that the painting that is the story of my journey as an artist now hangs in the family home of one of my very first inspirations. Thank you, Chris, for everything that you did to help me along the way.